Hi, Jason Pilgrim here from the Profitable Practice podcast, where we help allied health professionals just like you empower and inspire the lives of so many more people by building bigger and better businesses. Let's go and get stuck in right now. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Profitable Practice podcast. A good friend of mine and dentist, Mr. Jesse Green. Mate, thank you very much for joining us. Remiss of me to not say also from SavyDentist, teaching dentists how to be better clinicians, business owners, get more success. Mate, welcome back. I really appreciate your time.
Jace, it's great to be here, and it's just a lot of fun to hang out with you. So thanks for having me. It's going to be. I'm looking forward. It's going to be a hoot.
Fantastic, mate. Flattery will get you everywhere. So keep it up, mate. It's fantastic.
The handsome man I've ever seen.
For those that are watching on the video, not just on the podcast, they get the extra, being able to see your stunning good looks as well, mate.
Oh, yeah, right.
Hey, we wanted to dive into this because this is something that actually came up with quite a few of our clients have actually and colleagues have been asking me about this, and I thought, hey, this is something that I know you're very, very good at. Not just the referrals or retention, but the reactivations. One of your 9 accelerators that you work on is that reactivation side.
Yes.
And it's also a big area inside dentistry. We've all got the phone calls and, a year later, time for your checkup, etc.
Yep.
Now, in the health industry, we don't really have that whole, you're meant to do a 6-monthly or 12-monthly checkup of your spine or your teeth or your necks and things like that. And I think there's a really good avenue for allied health providers to learn from yourself and from dentists about some of the ways in which we can better reactivate clients, the way we can better engage long-term with them and create more of that continuation of care type model. So I wanted to be able to explore that with you today.
Yeah, happy. Sounds good.
If we can have a bit of a deep dive, mate. First of all, your thoughts in and around the reactivation side and how it runs with dentistry in regards to checkups and things like that. Can you just give us a bit of that one?
Cool. So one of the things that we talk about in dentistry is that, we have 3 R's of marketing: recruitment, retention, and reactivation. So we want to attract new patients, retain our existing ones, and then, obviously scoop up anyone who might have fallen off the database or hasn't been in recently. And the reactivation process is the one that is typically done the worst because it requires some effort and some planning and some structure, but it also yields fantastic results.
Interesting.
So it's really interesting. So in dentistry, we talk about, patient leaks in our practice. And in dentistry, the 3 big patient leaks are our recall system, incomplete treatment, and then cancellations and no-shows not being followed up. So typically, if people are going to fall off the wagon, it's through one of those 3 leaks. And, even though physios or podiatrists may not have that 6-monthly recall, they might, it's just important to close down those leaks fast. So the first step really is to prevent the need for reactivation by looking at where our patients falling off. How do we create a compelling reason for them to return? How do we make sure they're coming back for that appointment? They know why they're coming back for that appointment. Talking about the problems and the implications. So again, in dentistry, I might say, look, Jason, when I see you in August this year, I really need to check that tooth on the lower right-hand side. It's got a crack in it. The problem with cracks is they can open up, and if they open up, that tooth could break or become infected. So when I see in August, I really want to check that crack is stable. And if it's not, then we're going to really need to think about what to do to stabilize it. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, okay, I'm not just coming back for a 6-monthly checkup. I'm not just coming back for this. I'm coming back for a compelling reason. So that would be my first big tip there, is to try and prevent it. But assuming that someone's already fallen off the wagon and we need to try and resuscitate them and bring them in, the thing I would say is...
Actually, let me jump in there for a second. I talk and I teach in and around this on the patient pathway.
Yeah.
Wherever they are, if you're drawing it up on a board, it'd be drawing an X. It doesn't matter where you are. That's where you're at the moment. And where you're wanting to is get over to here, and it's like draw the finish line. Now that might be, a little bit of neck pain that might take only a couple of days to resolve, or it might be an ACL reconstruction and a 26-week surgical protocol and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to have that journey. But if we're up front and we're able to map that journey so they understand the implications of where they're at, what's going to be involved, what the finish line is going to look like, we can actually then start to look at the emotional impact and the significant benefit that will be seen in X, Y, and Z in their life and
Yeah.
the impact by getting them to that finish line. So
Yeah.
we sort of set that up in that approach, which is similar to what I felt you were talking about with the crack in the tooth, laying that platform that in 6 months, this might happen. And that
Yeah.
might be a good lesson for allied health providers to be able to learn as well, that they do have some degenerative changes happening in their hip or in their shoulder. We want to keep an eye on that because we can't necessarily do anything to reverse that, but we can definitely make sure that we're doing certain, and there's lots of different avenues and strategies to be able to stop it getting worse, to make sure that we don't then have a greater risk of a fall or something like that, or an osteoporotic fracture, if we're talking about that as well. So I think there's a lot of good lessons and translations that allied health need to get a lot better at.
Totally. And you're familiar with the two futures model as well. So
Absolutely.
we'll talk about getting on the green line, staying on the green line. To stay on the green line, this is what it looks like. And if we slip and we don't have our regular appointments, we're going to slip off the green line and down to the red line. And that's where it all just goes a bit, to hell in a handbasket, so to speak. So, I think we've got to be able to draw what the finish line looks like, as you say. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Now, I jumped in on you before you started talking about the people that are already fallen off the wagon, the reactivation side.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I'd share that hopefully will be helpful for your audience. The first thing is we need to be able to sort the database. I'm not sure what CRMs you guys use, but for us, it's generally practice management software. So we would print a list of inactive patients, and for us in dentistry, an inactive patient is someone who hasn't been in for 18 months as a rule of thumb. So whatever the rule of thumb is for you guys, you'd print that list off. The thing I would say to you is it's really important to try and reactivate the people who have been in most recently as a matter of priority, because the warmer they are, the more responsive they're going to be to the reactivation campaign.
Yeah.
Right. So absence does not make the heart grow fonder when it comes to healthcare. Okay. They tend to forget about it. So step number one would be to sort that list by who's been in most recently. Step number two for us is to understand that it's a reactivation campaign. And for us, a campaign is a multi-sequence communication strategy.
And I think that right then and there is super powerful, just even the wording of that, mate. And I loved you saying that, because I've got to tell you, the amount of health providers that think it's a matter of sending a text message. And that one of my team members, Scotty.
Scotty well.
Yeah, Scotty, great guy. Now, he's over at Cronulla Way in Sydney. He went to a physio just over 12 months, nearly 13 months ago. And only a couple of days ago, we were chatting on the phone, and he's like, oh, what? And he literally, and standing on the outside of this looking in, I saw not the disgust, but the ickiness, if there's such a word, right, of getting a text message saying, hi, Scott, it's such and such, and I won't use their name, such and such physio here. It's been over a year since we've seen you, and it was just clunky. It wasn't using the right words. It was just, I'm sure I'm sure we should be able to see you and help you out. And it just stunk of sales and marketing, and we want to buy a new car. So can you come and give us some money? And the way he reacted live when it happened and I was on the phone, he's like, and I'm like, what? And he screenshot it, sent it to me on Messenger, and I looked and I went, oh, it's just,
it's a bit icky, isn't it?
Yeah. And so to hear you say that it's a campaign and it's about getting people when they're warm, not just letting them go printing a list 12 months later and going, oh, let's go and do a reactivation, campaign. It has to be touch points. I like it.
Yeah, you've got to be nurturing. You've got to be nurturing all the time. And even if they don't have a reason to come back, maybe they have gone back to 100%. I would be thinking about newsletters and all that sort of stuff to just continue the relationship. And it's the relationship you're looking at. But coming back to the reactivation, it is a campaign. And so we look at what sequence of communication strategies we're going to have. Maybe we might start with an email or a letter to be followed up by a phone call, which could be then followed up by a text or whatever it happens to be. And so for us, we'll typically have 5 pieces of communication mapped out. And if people respond, so 5's our bad run number. It could be more, it could be less. But if people respond and they make their appointment, clearly they don't get the remaining part of the communication. But the big question that comes up around that is, aren't I bugging them? Right. That's the big fear. Am I going to bug them if I send them 5 pieces of communication?
Yep.
And the short answer is no. And I'd like to just demonstrate that or illustrate that with a quick little anecdote. And that is my young daughter, Maisie, when she was in about grade 1 or 2, decided that glasses were somehow cool. And as a wearer of glasses, I can attest that it's never been cool. But anyway.
Oh, they are, mate. They're stylish. They're sophisticated, I think is a word.
Sophisticated. Thank you, mate. Thank you. I'm sorry to all the glasses wearers on this show.
They're all sophisticated.
They're all sophisticated. That's right. I'm letting the team down. But anyway, she decided that she wanted glasses, and so she faked an eye test. And so she'd also had a bit of, in the early days, a bit of challenge getting the reading happening. And so we thought, oh, okay, that must be it. She's having trouble seeing. We took her off to the optometrist, got her a pair of glasses, and lo and behold, not long afterwards, they went out of fashion, and we just realized we'd wasted some money. But notwithstanding that, this is going back to 2014.
Yeah.
And early this week, we just got a new fridge. And what we took off the fridge, when you got all your stuff on the fridge, photos and that, was the reactivation letter from 2015 saying, dear Maisie, it's been 12 months since you had your eyes checked. Come and see us. And so what happened is they had done what I call the post and pray reactivation method. They had sent the letter, crossed their fingers, but there was no follow-up, right? Now, even though...
based on hope, isn't it? So I think that hopium.
Hopium, definitely a lot of hopium there. Now, the thing is, if they had followed up, even though we knew Maisie had faked it, I would totally have gone back and got her eyes tested just in case. And if they'd rung me and said, hey, you know what, it's school holidays coming up, why don't we just check her eyes, make sure they're okay? And I would go, you know what, that's a really good idea. Let's go and do that.
Because it's my daughter, right, too. It's like there's an emotional side to it. It's like, hang on, no. It's like, yeah.
Totally. So I do feel like there's a bit of parental failure somewhere in that story as well. But notwithstanding that, the reactivation process was post the letter, cross your fingers and hope. And so that's why we've got to begin with the most recent, have a campaign that's mapped out and as automated as can be, still with some human touches in there, phone calls and the like, but the structure is automated. And then we've got to also know when to intelligently let go. And so there is a time when you don't want to be that person, but most people think they're that person long before they are that person.
Yes, and I wanted to jump. I was almost going to interrupt a minute ago, and then I thought, oh, hang on. I think he's going where my head was actually. So, two peas in a pod, you and me. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway, move on, Jace.
It's good for me. It's a compliment for me. Probably not.
I could turn that right around. I'll apologise for that. I think it's a really interesting one. I get a lot of pushback at times when I say to people, hey, we need to, if you actually had touch point engagement, we talk about nurture, the nurture complex, the customer experience and nurturing people. We know that friends buy from friends. We know that they don't just need to know you, they need to like you and they need to trust you before they buy. We've got all of this stuff, right? Yep. And I always find myself in a scenario where I get pushback from an EP or a physio or a podiatrist, etc., dietitian, and I'll be like, oh, but I wouldn't want to be contacted. Like, it's like, and my thing is this: you're not a used car salesman ringing up saying, "Hey, do you want to buy a new car?" Like you bought a car from us 3 months ago. Do you want to buy another car?
Yeah.
There's a big difference between buying another car 3 months later and actually speaking to someone personally, engaging them because of the relationship and the rapport you have, and being able to talk to them as a person about something you were seeing them and helping them with potentially 3 or 4 weeks ago.
That's hugely different from a used car salesman.
Yeah.
And I think, the word that comes to mind is relationship. Absolutely. And dentistry, allied health, whichever particular branch of allied health, it's all a relationship business. So the stronger you can keep that relationship, the more you can build on it, have people make deposits into the relationship bank account, as Stephen Covey talks about, all that sort of stuff. You're going to find that you retain your patients much longer. They're going to stay with you longer, spend more with you, have come to you as a trusted advisor rather than seeing you as a commodity. And so it's really not that hard to have that nurture sequence, but it's also not that hard to not do as well.
Absolutely. And
And
you know that as well as I do. Just as much as it's easy to do something, it's very easy not to do something.
totally.
And I think that a lot of it is that misconstrued fear that practitioners have that they're annoying someone if they ring them up. They're
Yeah.
annoying someone if they send them a text message 2 weeks after they discharge them. They've seen them 4 or 5 times. They've got them better. And then if I was to ring them, that'd be just me selling.
Totally. But here's just another spin on that. Why don't you just say to the patient, I'm going to touch base with you in 4 or 5 weeks and see how you're traveling?
Yeah.
So you've pre-framed that the call is coming, or the text or whatever is coming. And so when you ring up, you can say, hey, look, it's Jesse from, XYZ Podiatry. I'm calling as I promised I would. I just wondered if you're 100%. How are you tracking?
Absolutely. And they're really important words too, like that 100% scenario, because when it comes to like injuries, for instance, we get into a situation where you are going to get better and get discharged, but a lot of times you will have a bit of a relapse, or they stop doing their exercises or stop doing something, or just things start to tighten up and change, and all these different mechanisms of physiology, etc. All of that happens, and we then don't say or do anything. And one of the biggest frustrations, and you get this in dentistry as well, people don't come the moment, or a lot of people don't come the moment they get a tiny little bit of neck pain or shoulder pain, or for you guys, a little bit of a tooth pain. They wait until there's a whopping great abscess.
Yeah, on Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve, at 5:30 going, it's an emergency. And you go, what seems to be the problem? They say, well, 3 weeks ago. And you go, oh, come on.
Yeah.
We get that all the time with injuries. People will go, oh, well, I had this back injury, or it started getting sore and for the last couple of weeks, and they'll justify they're busy and all this, right? So that we know that clients don't come to us proactively and as soon as they should.
Yes.
So if we know that they're not always going to be 100%, because we don't have the hands of God, we haven't made them perfect.
Yeah.
And they've gone off for, 2 weeks. I actually think it's a duty of care. It's a continuation of care that I'm going to reach out and touch base with you, because I respect you. I have a moral obligation, an ethical obligation to make sure you are 100%.
Yeah.
Not to re-engage you to make more money every day for the next 3 weeks of all these appointments, but I want to actually make sure that you are 100%. And if you've regressed a little bit, I want to be able to help that and make that happen, because that was what you came to me in the first place to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, the thing with us in dentistry is we do a lot of procedures that frankly cause post-operative discomfort. It can hurt afterwards, right?
Yeah.
We know that. And so for us, it's kind of really normal for us to say, Jason, I'm going to check in with you in a few days or a week or whatever it is to see how you're traveling, blah, 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 blah. So I can't see why exactly the same methodology couldn't be applied for physios, podiatry, whatever it is. But the big secret that we've found with that is to pre-frame that call is coming.
Absolutely.
So when they get it, they're not surprised. They're expecting it, or at least they remember that you've mentioned it. And then it's
especially very to lead out with those words, saying like, "Hey, it's Jesse here from such and such dentistry. I'm following up as I said I would.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, to make sure that you're 100%. You're not turning around and saying, "Hey, you want to see how your back's going?"
Yeah. Yeah. How's good?
Like, you're actually using the right words and saying, "Hey, I'm, Jesse, I'm blah 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 from whatever physio, and if this was me, I'd be saying to you, I'm actually a man of my word. I told you I'd give you a call. I popped it on my diary. I wanted to make sure that you were 100%. How things been going?"
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And
it's not sell, it's not marketing, it's care.
It's care. But the big key here is, right, if you tell people you're going to do it, you have to do it, right? Because otherwise it's a trust buster rather than a trust builder.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so, absolutely. It's a big one. And so do you feel it's a lot of just mindset and mentality of practitioners and clinicians that feel that sort of touch point and nurture is a bit icky? Do you think it's more of that they don't understand the reality of it?
I don't think they understand how the patient receives it. And I think if you set it up well, it's received very well. if you don't set it up well, it can feel a little bit left of center, right? A bit out of left field, right?
Yeah.
So it's all in the preparation work. But I would say that the clients that I work with, the ones that have the busiest practices, the ones to really, get the best results, nail this. They
Yeah.
totally nail it. And it's a big differentiator between commercial success and commercial mediocrity. And so I would just say that, if there's nothing you get from this conversation other than to ring up and say, as I'm calling as I promised I would, then that's a huge start. But the rest of it is a campaign. And I think if you can see it as a campaign and an ongoing campaign built in with the nurturing pieces as well, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that very, 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 very interesting. And so it's not the text message 13 months after a physio appointment that to re-engage. It's clunky.
No, totally. Yeah.
And then, by me talking about that, it probably just fuels that fear and anxiety that others do go, oh, so it's not I'm going to send the text message from this business guy that said you got to reactivate, blah, blah, blah. It is actually understanding. It does take a little bit of time and effort, but a lot of this can be automated as well, though, right? We can use the right database, the right synchronization, and use Trello and Slack and Active Campaigns and these things to automate this.
Yeah.
And it becomes simple. I mean, look, one of the things I always hear from people, they say to me, Jason, I'm too busy to call people all the time. Like I might have 3 new people a day, right? And you go, okay, great. I don't have time so on average to make 3 phone calls a day. I don't have time. I'm back to back. And I see that as a big excuse, because the reality is if I call 3 mobiles during the day, we know, and we test to measure this, 2 out of those 3 don't even answer.
No, but you get to leave a nice message.
You leave a beautiful message. Hey, Jesse, such and such and blah, blah, blah. Calling as promised a few weeks ago to make sure you're 100%, etc. And away you go. And it's it's that little dopamine hit that you get, a tap on the shoulder you get at lunch break when you check your mobile phone, or at the end of the day after work, and you find out that your physio, your podiatrist, your dietitian, your EP, etc. has actually followed up as they said they would, etc. They care about you, and even just using words like, I've got someone who's got a shoulder injury just like yourself, and it made me think of you.
Yes, it's really great.
Oh, that's lovely, right?
It's nice. The thing that I would say about the I don't have time situation, because, and again, this may or may not translate from dentistry to allied health, but I would, if a dentist said that to me, I'd say, you might not have time now, but you soon will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because, you're going to pay the price.
Absolutely. It's either time now or time later. Which one do you want to choose?
Yeah, totally, right? So let's keep that pipeline full, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say if you don't have time, that's fine, but you still got to do it, because otherwise things will change. And, it's important to just be doing the right things. And for me, this is a situation where you're mastering fundamentals. This is like, excellence is mastering fundamentals, as people wiser than me have said. And I think for us, this is just a fundamental marketing skill that needs to be built out.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, mate. That the nurture side of things of doing this right as a campaign, that was a big takeaway for me. I completely agree with you. It's having the right automation, the tech, the systems in place to make sure that we're putting this in place, using the right words, pre-framing things so that they know that we're going to follow up the day after their first consult. They know we're going to follow up in a couple of weeks to make sure they're 100%. There's no expectation that we're going to sell them things. We don't make it icky. We do invest that time. We make it about them. We do care about them. We want to help. And we're not just trying to push for a sale.
Nah, definitely not. No, that's, you've nailed it. Got it.
And I think a lot of it is just understanding that we have to actually put in a little bit of extra effort on that. We need to actually make the time, because I love that. Either have you got the time now, or do you want to have time later? I love that.
Yeah. And look, as I said, it's a huge, for us, how well people do their reactivation and their nurturing is a huge predictor for success.
Yes.
Because it's easy enough to turn on a marketing tap and get a bit of a spike.
Yep.
But that doesn't always work. Marketing changes. You know this and I know this. What worked 2 years ago.
People have to feed the beast all the time, right?
Always having to feed the beast. And I just don't want to have to do that. I don't want to play that game.
No, absolutely. Mate, we've done a really long episode on this, a lot longer than we had, but I'm super grateful for your time, because seriously, man, I could talk to you for hours, as we do at different times.
We do. It's great.
a beer and a nice meal. Mate, thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I've got to get you back on to do some more episodes with you because your knowledge and your expertise and your authority in and around this is super beneficial to all of our industry, the health, the medical, dentistry side, etc., mate. So thank you very, very much, mate. And no doubt we'll chat to you again very soon.
Look, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be with you today. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it a great deal.
Pleasure, mate. Let's catch up soon.
Cheers.
Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.